I interviewed 4 high school students on their perception of struggling and illiterate readers in our school. All schools have these kinds of readers, and teachers are constantly looking for ways to reach and encourage them. Here are some insights and suggestions for teachers from those that are closest to the struggling and illiterate readers. When given an assignment, struggling readers often complain and don't want to complete it, especially if it involves a lot of reading. Struggling readers may attempt to complete an assignment, but after some time might give up if it's too hard. They avoid reading at all times and try to get the answer from classmates. In many classrooms, teachers ask students to read aloud. This is not beneficial in any way to struggling readers. They feel embarrassed if forced to read in front of class because they cannot read and don't want to be teased. Struggling readers also can't comprehend what the class is talking about and struggle to keep up when other students read. Students who can read sometimes get lost and can't follow along with struggling students as they read aloud. It's harder for classmates to comprehend because it takes so long for struggling readers to get through what they are reading. The suggestions given by the high school students are similar to what I have read about in research. When asking students to read aloud, give struggling readers, and everyone for that matter, a choice to read or not in front of class. No one is put on the spot and will feel pressure to read. If students associate reading with embarrassment, they will always dislike reading and choose not to do it. This will not improve their reading and comprehension skills. As for assignments, teachers need to sit down with struggling readers and explain directions in a way they understand. They could also offer reading books at a lower reading level, but over the same topic the rest of the class is studying. As students get more fluent and efficient at reading, they can start reading more difficult books until they are at the same level as the class. One-on-one instruction on comprehension strategies could also help struggling readers. The attitude of illiterate readers can be similar to struggling readers. The difference is that illiterate readers can read, but choose not to. They think they are too cool to read and complain when they are forced to read in class or are required to read for an assignment. They don't care enough about their grades to do the assignments and care only about passing rather than getting a good grade. They are too lazy to do the work, so they complain to the teachers to try to avoid having to read. They don't want to put the time and effort into reading, even though they have the ability to do so. Even though illiterate students can read, they encounter difficulties in class. Often, these are the students that don't read assignments, so when it comes time for discussions, they don't know answers to questions. They perform poorly on tests over books because they avoid reading them. Teachers do know which students are illiterate readers, so these students often have a hard time avoiding the teacher when it comes to reading in class. They want to avoid the work that comes along with reading, but often cannot. When the teacher calls on them to read, they may be grumpy about it and mumble because they feel forced to read in class. It's much more difficult to encourage illiterate readers than struggling readers. One suggestion is the same as encouraging struggling readers. Give illiterate readers the choice to read or not in front of the class. There is a lot of power in choice, and that is a small way to give students power in their learning. Also, give a choice of books to read. Oftentimes, students are told what books they need to read. By giving students the power of choice, they are more apt to read a book they choose. Students might choose novels, science, fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, magazines, or even comic books. Just give them a choice. Sometimes incentives might work. Reward students for reading a certain number of books. Once they meet that goal, they earn a reward. Again, let them choose between a variety of rewards. These rewards need to be good enough that students will want to try. Positive words or comments can also be rewarding for illiterate readers. Teachers need to show students that reading is fun, not just needed for schoolwork. This needs to start at a young age and continue every year to instill the love for reading so it carries out through high school. In conclusion, teachers need to give students the option to read aloud or not in class. They also need to show students that reading is fun. Students have an innate desire to learn, but sometimes it's hidden behind the cool and unsure masks. It's our job to bring that desire out of each and every student.